going on, everyone? We need to talk about what's happening with the Blue Jays right now, because things are heating up way faster than anyone expected. Jon Heyman just dropped some massive intel that has completely changed the conversation around what this front office is planning. And I'm telling you, this goes deeper than just one move. We're talking multiple free agents on their radar, a sneaky signing that nobody's discussing, and decisions that could completely reshape this roster before spring training even gets going. Stick with me here because by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly where this team is headed and why the next few weeks are absolutely critical. So let's get right into it. Heyman's latest report confirms what a lot of us suspected, but now we have actual names attached. The Blue Jays aren't just window shopping anymore. They're actively pursuing Max Scherzer, and they've got serious interest in Zack Gallen. Now, before you roll your eyes at Scherzer's age, think about what he brings beyond just innings. This is a guy who's been to the top of the mountain multiple times. He knows what it takes to win in October. You bring him into that clubhouse, and suddenly you've got someone who can mentor guys like Bowden Francis, help refine Trey Savage's approach, and give the younger arms a blueprint for sustained excellence. That kind of presence is invaluable, especially when you're trying to build a championship culture. But here's where it gets really interesting. Zack Gallen's name being in the mix tells us the front office is thinking strategically, not emotionally. Gallen's coming off a rough year, no question about it. But let's pump the brakes before we write him off completely. 2 years ago, this guy was one of the most consistent arms in baseball. We're talking sub 3.7 ERA, eating innings, giving his team a chance to win every fifth day. Last season was an outlier, and when a proven pitcher has an outlier season, that's when smart organizations pounce. You can probably get Gallen on a short-term prove-it deal for way less than market value, and if he returns to form, you've just added a legitimate mid-rotation arm without breaking the bank. Now I know what you're thinking. Where does he even fit? You've got Gausman locked in, Bassett's there, you're hoping Bieber comes back healthy, and you've got young guys like Ricky Tiedemann potentially knocking on the door. But let's be real about the rotation situation. Shane Bieber's recovery timeline is still unclear, and there's legitimate concern about whether he'll be ready for opening day. Yariel Rodriguez showed flashes, but we don't know if he can handle a full season workload. Jose Berrios, despite his durability, has been frustratingly inconsistent, and there's always trade speculation swirling around him. You need depth, you need options, and you need guys who can step up when injuries inevitably hit. That's why Gallen makes sense, even if it's not the sexiest move. He's averaged close to 200 innings over the past few seasons. That's massive when you're trying to manage workloads and keep your bullpen fresh down the stretch. If you can get him to rediscover his form from 2022 and 2023, you're looking at a potential steal. And even if he doesn't fully bounce back, he's a serviceable innings eater who gives you flexibility with the rest of your staff. Here's something else that flew completely under the radar. The Jays signed Josh Fleming to a minor league deal. 29-year-old lefty who spent all of last year in AAA with Seattle, posted a 4.91 ERA over 84 innings, struck out 44 batters. Not exactly eye-popping numbers, but hear me out. This guy had some really intriguing advanced metrics in 2024 when he was with Pittsburgh. He's got a 4-pitch mix, throws a sinker, changeup, cutter, and curveball. The velocity isn't there. He sits around 90 miles per hour, but he's got deception in his delivery and he understands how to pitch. Why does this matter? Because the Blue Jays have a proven track record of taking guys other organizations gave up on and turning them into valuable pieces. Remember Brendan Little? Nobody thought twice about that signing, and he ended up being a crucial bullpen arm. Genesis Cabrera came over and contributed immediately. Pete Walker and the pitching development staff have earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to reclamation projects. Fleming gets an invite to Major League spring training, so we'll see him competing for a spot in a few weeks. Even if he doesn't make the opening day roster, he adds left-handed depth to an organization that desperately needs it. Speaking of lefties, take a quick look at the current bullpen construction. You've got Brendan Little and potentially Mason Fluharty as your only left-handed options. That's not enough flexibility for a team with playoff aspirations. You need multiple lefties who can attack from different angles, especially in high-leverage situations against teams stacked with left-handed bats. Fleming gives you another option, another arm to develop, another potential solution if injuries strike. It's a low-risk move that could pay dividends down the line. Now let's talk about something that could have bigger implications than people realize. Eric Loaisiga went to arbitration with the team, and we're expecting a decision next week. The Blue Jays filed at $4.4 million. Loaisiga's camp filed at $5.75. That $1 million difference might not sound like much in the grand scheme of things, but it could actually influence other roster decisions. If the arbitrator sides with Loaisiga and awards him the higher number, does that impact how much flexibility the front office has to pursue someone like Max Scherzer? Does it change their approach to a potential trade for another impact bat? What makes this case fascinating is that Loaisiga went to Korea between his last arbitration deal and this one, which creates some unique precedent. The Players Association and 29 other teams are watching this closely because the outcome could set new standards for how players who leave and return to MLB are valued in arbitration. Tarek Skubal just won his case against Detroit, establishing his market value heading into free agency. Loaisiga's situation is different, but equally important for future cases. Here's my take on the money. Loaisiga is coming off a solid season in Korea, and he's shown in the past that he can be an effective major league starter. Is he worth $5.75 million? Probably, based on his track record and what other back-end starters are getting paid. But from the team's perspective, if you can save that extra million and redirect it toward a proven veteran like Scherzer or use it to sweeten a trade package, maybe you take that route instead. Every dollar matters when you're trying to build a championship roster while staying under certain budget constraints. The bigger picture here is that the Blue Jays are clearly not done making moves. Heyman's report about their interest in multiple free agents, combined with these smaller signings and arbitration cases, tells us the front office is working multiple angles simultaneously. They're covering their bases, creating depth, and positioning themselves to strike when the right opportunity presents itself. Whether that's landing Scherzer as a mentor and spot starter, taking a chance on Gallen's bounce-back potential, or developing someone like Fleming into a useful bullpen piece, there's a method to what might look like madness. One more thing to consider. The free agent market is moving slower than usual again this year, which actually works in Toronto's favor. Teams are being cautious with their spending, which means there could be value plays available as we get closer to spring training. Veteran players who thought they'd have multiple offers might suddenly become more willing to take one-year deals to rebuild their value. That's when aggressive teams can capitalize and add pieces that seemed out of reach a month ago. So where does all this leave us? The rotation still has question marks, but there are clear paths to addressing them. The bullpen needs more left-handed depth, and they're actively working on it. The lineup could use another impact bat, but that might come via trade rather than free agency. What's encouraging is that Ross Atkins and the front office are attacking this from multiple directions instead of putting all their eggs in one basket. Look, I get that some of these moves don't generate the same excitement as landing a superstar in his prime. But championships are built on depth, veteran leadership, and smart value signings just as much as they are on star power. The teams that win in October are the ones that have answers when their third and fourth starters go down, when they need a lefty specialist in the seventh inning, when a young player needs guidance from someone who's been there before. We're about 2 weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting, and I genuinely believe the Blue Jays roster is going to look different by